This is what the Russian world, or the Russian peace, as they called it, looks like. I'm in front of a cemetery where a horrible story happened. We cannot go inside because of the mines. A volunteer just got blown up here. Multiple residents of this village called Pravdyne told us the story. Pravdyne. The name means of truth. It has been under the occupation for 8 months. Yesterday, 7 bodies were exhumed here, and one of them was of a teenage girl. She was either 15 or 16, and her name was Victoria. I'm now walking down Stepola Street. This is number 50, right behind me, right here. And we're looking for the number 55, where 7 people were killed. And that included a 15-year-old girl, Victoria. This girl, she was my neighbor. She was a 10th grade student. And they lived the way all people live in a village. And we didn't know that something like this would happen. These people, they were not very good. He killed, I can't remember how many years ago, 10 or 12 years ago, his father. The mother of the guy, she killed her husband, his own father. And the mother too, she killed him. It was a long time ago. His own father? And they went to prison and served a term for that. Yes. They killed him together, cut off his head, and they served time for that. He got out and he got married. He married a woman who already had a kid. That girl was growing and growing. And so years passed and the girl has turned 15 already. And because he was raping her, he confessed it. And the girl herself was saying that he was raping her. The girl was abused by her stepfather. So the girl, she found a boyfriend. There were security guards working at this company out here. There were 7 security guards living in a communal house here in the village. They were working for an agricultural facility, a farm with a warehouse before the war. And they still lived in this house after the Russians invaded this village. And they liked each other and started to date. A 15-year-old ran away and she fell in love with one of the guards. The stepfather started to collaborate with the Russians. The stepfather, he reported the guys to the Russians. And all the family, they started to run around and scream, "These guys are Ukrainians, they served in Donbass, and we need to kill them." And all 3 of them, the grandma, the father, and the mother were running around screaming, and Victor himself, and they were saying that Ukrainian guys need to be killed. And then he went to see his sister in Antonivka and told Russian soldiers at the block post that there are such people there, the former military Ukrainian. So soon the Russians came here and caught the whole team at the base where they were working, and then they shot them all, and the girl was killed. The Russians, exploded the base, the house. These guys were friends with the Russians. The Russians ate here and slept here and were drinking here. And our house is over there. And Victor, ordered it. So they shot at it and fired at it, exploded it. Because of him, many houses are destroyed here. In April, these people were killed. What happened? On the 12th of April, right at the edge of the village, a house got blown up. The house wasn't blown up. First, they killed them in a beastly manner, tied up their hands, blindfolded them, and shot them in the face, in their foreheads. And later, this girl, she got more than others. Her head was twisted to the side, and they put explosives there and put them in a pile and blew up. And the girl, they didn't expect the bodies would get all scattered. Some didn't have arms, some didn't have heads, because our guys came and started to pull them out of these piles, part by part. And the corpse of the girl, it was put in the cold so it doesn't. These guards, at least 6 of them, were killed. They were found with their hands tied up behind their backs, and they were shot in their heads. The 7th body, the body of the lover of the teenage girl, was never found. At least that's what we hear as of now. And one of the ladies by a church, by a Polish Catholic cathedral in the village, told us that the girl ran into the house later after the Ukrainian security guards were already dead, and she found the body of her loved one and was hugging and kissing him, and at that point she was killed as well. And the lady who told us that lived nearby, and she saw the bodies right after that. And for about 5 weeks, the bodies were sitting there, and the Russians wouldn't let the locals bury the bodies. The Russians wouldn't let us bury the guys for a pretty long time, and the guys started to fall apart already. So the mother stole her girl and buried her, and the guys stayed. And yesterday the police came and pulled them out of there, out of the ground, both the guys and the girl, and took them with them to see what is going on. Eventually, finally, they were buried, and just yesterday the bodies were exhumed. The bodies were just bones by then, and only the 6th one, he had some clothes on him, so some flesh was left, just a little, and the maggots were there. And the other ones, 3 of them, on their bones, there were little ropes, and you could see that their arms were tied together. And one, they were not buried right away after they were killed. People here were insisting on burying them for about a month. And the dogs, when these guys were already killed, the dogs were pulling the parts of the bodies. And so they only later put them to the ground. So we only dug out 5.5 bodies. And the one guy only had legs and a skull. His skull, it is the first time that I saw something like this. They asked me, there are only few guys left in town, all the old people. When we dug this guy out, we could see the hole in the skull, shot through from a machine gun, from the top of the skull. No, I don't want to show it on my own body. In general, they found the holes in the skulls of 3 guys, and I saw it, and I felt so horrified that I had to step aside, and the other guys were helping. And an expert said that 3 guys were shot down, and 3 had their hands tied up. And the girl, she's local. When they killed her on the 2nd day, the father came and they have allowed him to bury the girl. The Russians told our guys that if anyone comes close to here, they would shoot them, and they put many tripwires here. At this point, the stepfather has been arrested for multiple crimes, including the molestation of 2 girls. The young daughter together from this marriage, she was about 9, and he was raping her too, and the girl was always crying and saying that he was raping her. And I told the mother, but her mother wouldn't believe he was raping his stepdaughter and his own daughter. He was detained. A lawsuit is opened, and yesterday they brought him here for an investigation. He reported my husband, and we almost got shot. They robbed the whole village. There's so much stuff here. People come here to pick up their things. The ladies in the village told us that they have no firewood for their stoves because they cannot go off the roads. Everything is mined. And they told us many stories about the occupation, about the fights, about the battles of the tanks in front of their destroyed houses, and how they survived 8 months without heat, electricity, water, communication, and how happy they were to have Ukrainian soldiers coming back to liberate them. I'm Zarina Zabrisky reporting from Pravdyne, Kherson Oblast, Ukraine.